The category is...
Since as early as the 30s, drag balls have been prominent as a form of expression to queer individuals. Although the first drag queen in the 1800s was black, drag pageants in the US have been mainly dominated by white people in its beginning. But after a 1967 drag pageant, the evolution of what a form of expression could be to this community ultimately changed. A popular 1968 documentary named The Queen shows a pageant where a drag queen named Crystal LaBeija placed third.
Third runner-up in the 1967 Nationals. Crystal, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the third runner-up in the 1900. Crystal, where are you going?
She felt cheated and unfairly treated because she was black.
Bad taste, and you're showing your color and stuff.
I am doing it bad, but I have a right to show my color, darling. I am beautiful, and I know I'm beautiful.
This scene is what ultimately made what we know as the ballroom scene today. Starting in the early 70s, the ballroom scene is a queer subculture with mainly black and Latino individuals. The ballroom was a place where queer people could feel safe, seen, taken care of, and most importantly, a place to have fun and compete in their houses. A house can be described as a family. A house has a mother or father and children. The mothers and the fathers of each house are seen exactly what a mother or father should be, a caretaker. Every parent of the house works hard to have money in their pockets so they can be reliable as possible. Their responsibilities is to house the children, feed the children, help them succeed in the real world, or to get an education if they so choose to. These parents are the adult figures that most of these children have never had. And to clarify, children are not just young in age, but children can be of any age. Some are as young as 10 years old, some can be in their 30s and above. Now, children are members of houses that their fathers, mothers, and legends create. These children can use what they are most confident in and represent their house in certain ball categories. These children may be living in their parents' home, but sneak out in late hours to go to a ball. But unfortunately, a lot of these children are kicked out, disrespected, or disowned from their biological family because of their sexuality. They live on the streets, they are poor, and so who would take care of them when the world is so against them? That's the role of the parents in the houses. Now, how does one become a house parent? Mothers and fathers are usually older and experienced with what life throws at them. Someone can create their own house if they want to, whether it is to make a name for oneself, to help struggling children, to have freedom and not live under another parent. It truly is one's choice. Mothers and fathers can become one through various ways. One can become a parent by wanting to make their own house and be their own representative, if they like to care for people and want to have a caretaker responsibility. But some individuals are made mothers and fathers because they are known to be legendary. To be legendary is like to be seen as winning an Oscar. Legendary is to have a name for yourself. It's about winning multiple awards in multiple categories, to be well experienced, to create, to make something new. To be legendary is basically the highest level of respect that one can get in a ball. Some legendary individuals can be exemplified through the House of Extravaganza, which is founded by Angie Extravaganza. She has been awarded multiple times as Mother of the Year. House of Ninja, founded by Willie Ninja. He exceeds in performance and is also the founder of voguing, which we will get into later. The House of Balenciaga, led by Maurice and Sexy Lexi, and have been amazing performers in their house. House of LaBeija, which is founded by Crystal LaBeija. It is run by Pepper LaBeija, and is basically the legends of the legends. More notable houses that are well known could be the House of Chanel, Saint Laurent, the House of Dupree, the House of Juicy Couture, or the House of Amazon. Categories. People compete in certain categories that are based on skills, themes, dance, music, gender expression, and to just create an overall performance. When the balls first began, categories did not really exist. Many individuals dressed as showgirls or drag, but once these categories began, it opened a world to so many ideas, and many more queer people were able to perform and be themselves, which is what ultimately led up to the creation of so many new ideas and creations. Some of the most known categories are realness. In realness, participants show their ability to pass as a specific gender. An example could be a gay man passing as a straight man, or vice versa. Another popular one is the runway walk, which is quite literally what it sounds like. It is judged on the best walks, the best poses, and the overall sleek model look, especially in the 80s and 90s. Femme queen realness, specifically referring to transgender women who can be perceived as a cisgender woman. Voguing. Voguing is a dance form, and it is based on who can do it the best between its competitors. Executive realness. Executive realness embodies a straight persona to seem as a business executive, someone working and living in an office. Military. Military is someone who can be the sharpest, seem as a person in the military, where in look the most similar to the actual representation. Face. Face is simply judged on someone's beauty. Glowy face, best makeup, defined jawline, model-like characteristics. Schoolgirl/boy realness. Similar as military or executive realness, it is the ability to portray a straight person in school. Now, after reading all of these, you might wonder, why? Why do so many of these categories? Why even come up with these in the first place? But they do so many different categories because there is something for everyone. They do categories like executive realness because at this time it was not seen as realistic for a black gay man to be a corporate manager. So doing these categories and dressing up is something that would seem impossible at that time, and it allows these people of the community to fantasize or to allow a what-if moment. If I can't be that in the real world, I can be it in the ballroom. And overall, these categories represent how they are able to be someone that they won't be able to be outside of the balls. Now, a question might have dawned upon you, which is, how could everyone afford this? Although I did touch on the fact that parents made money, they were not the only ones working. Almost every person that was able to work did work. Outside of these balls, these individuals were working class people. They might have engaged in sex work, dance teachers, work in retail, and the list goes on. They used their money to pay for balls, for their costumes, and so on. They had to buy trophies, they needed chairs, decorations, and did these balls wherever they could, whether it would be in a school gym, in an empty room, or in a ballroom. Many of the balls back then were done by people who could afford to put them on. But obviously it was open to everyone and to anyone who needed the space. The first case of AIDS was reported in 1981, and it was a fast and scary spread amongst gay men in New York. In the media, the epidemic of AIDS was often associated with homosexuality and led to discrimination, violence, and no support from the world. Hundreds of thousands of gay people died with HIVs or AIDS and were extremely affected when it came to their health and how just one was perceived. This epidemic heavily impacted the ballroom but helped grow an extremely strong community between each other. Voguing was inspired by a variety of dances or ideas collectively coming together. Willie Ninja, who is known as the legend and founder of voguing, described it as a form of Egyptian figures and precise lining. It also included elements of gymnastics, ballet, and most importantly, poses seen in the Vogue magazines, all in one dance. Voguing is a form of shade. Just like how people do dance battles to talk with their body, voguing is the same idea. Through voguing, you can throw your competitor shade, like Willy Ninja shows in this video.
A makeup kit, and I'm like beating my face with blush, shadows, or whatever to the music. Then usually I'll turn the compact around to face that person, meaning like almost like my hand is a mirror for them to get a look. Then I'll start doing their face, because what they have on their face right now needs a dramatic makeup job.
The old way focuses on precise lining, Egyptian hieroglyphics, a touch of martial arts, recreating model poses, a slower tempo, and more so to tell your competitor something. The new way incorporates more flexible movements and some gymnastics as well. Lots of boxes, angles, illusions, or even elements of yoga. Vogue Femme is the most recent voguing style, and it is a form of both the old way and the new way. Ballet and modern dances are major influences, or what is now seen as the 5 basic elements that include the duck walk, spins, dips, hands, catwalk, floor. All of these are much newer and much more seen frequently in the balls of this age. The hit of the decade, topped the charts in over 30 countries, was Vogue by Madonna. It released in 1990 during the peak of her career. The song is catchy with a funky dance beat that was mainly used in ballroom. This was just the beginning of ballroom scene diving into pop culture. This music video included folk dancers from the House of Extravaganza, Luis Camacho and Jose Gutierrez. Although it was a massive hit, there was definitely some controversies. Some believed that this was a form of cultural appropriation of ballroom, or the fact that a white woman was representing a Latino and Black subculture. She did pay homage, but people wondered if she could do more, like helping the community. Because while she made millions off the song alone, the only thing she really did was to just give representation. Not to mention that Malcolm McLaren was actually the first to push voguing to mainstream. Titled Deep in Vogue, the 1989 song was created with ballroom influence and included Willy Ninja along with many other ballroom performers in this music video. It came out in 1989 and Madonna's came out in 1990. Maybe without this music video, Deep in Vogue, Madonna's Vogue may have never been a hit or even exist. This can remain a talk, but Vogue by Madonna surely brought this subculture into the public's eyes, whether people wanted it to be or not. 6 months later, Paris is Burning by director Jenny Livingston was released. The documentary focuses on the ballroom scene and queer people living the life they live. It is inspirational, eye-opening, and beautifully made. This subculture was already hitting off in the public's eyes, and this movie further enhanced the experience. At the time, all the stars aligned and the documentary had a success in the box office. This was the first real look inside the scene, captivated the eyes of many. This movie is now seen as a piece of history for the queer community and just the film community overall. This film is studied in universities today and is still heavily praised for its realness and artistry. After it became new and exciting to the general public, the balls shifted in a way. Straight individuals were going to these balls as a form of entertainment. Many balls were now held as a fundraiser for AIDS prevention and help. The balls were accepted from many than it once was when it first started, but over time these balls kind of faded. It didn't have the spark that it had, but this fade is what made the Kiki scene, which is the younger generation's version of the ballroom. Kiki scene started in the early 2010s, around 2002. The term Kiki is rooted in the ballroom scene and refers to a less competitive, youth-friendly space. It was more so a place to just have fun with friends, to help one another, and to educate each other on how to be safe in all areas of life. These balls have become worldwide in Asia, Europe, South America, and more. Many balls are held, competitions are still prominent, but it's not as dramatic as it was years ago. With technology, LA Times even goes to state that the balls have become more about drama, more about posting shade on social media, and wanting to be a legend. But do also remember that in the US, queer communities and LGBTQ+ communities are much more accepted than they were back in the 80s. A lot of biological parents are not ashamed of having queer children, are willing to help out in struggles. What continues to be prominent now and continues to rise is voguing. Thousands of balls worldwide are hosted, and it has become the ultimate safe space for queer individuals in expressing themselves. Voguing is one of the most successful categories that came out of the ballroom scene and continues to rise in media. Also, slang such as period, mother, kiki, or throwing shade comes directly from the ballroom scene. Another example is Beyoncé and her Renaissance album, which brought the scene back into mainstream media in 2022, with songs like Pure/Honey, Break My Soul, the Queen's remix, and even incorporated voguing segments in her Renaissance tour. Overall, the ballroom continues to shine in many different aspects. Many dancers around the world use voguing. Competitions of voguing and the overall categories are still held, along with slangs, fashion, expression, music. Their willingness and their legacy continues to grow within the public eye.